for 6.5 years. I do have a background in some law enforcement back home, but I also, Sheriff Morgan, my husband is a retired colonel from the U.S. Air Force. I do appreciate your service, but all these people have worn uniforms to protect and serve this country. First of all, thank you. But my question is, all the counties I've lived in throughout the United States, a sheriff runs a jail. That is part of his budget. That is part of his job. What are you going to do to get this jail back to where it needs to be, get the people taken care of that work in there, and help get the jail safer for the employees?
Sorry, Doug, yes.
Look, I know that the jail situation is a serious topic here in Escambia County. My philosophy of the jail is that a sheriff should be responsible for running that jail. Working with the Secret Service and working with presidential visits here on the front lines and with the advanced team, I can tell you that our manpower assets is highly supplemented. It takes a lot of manpower to facilitate the security of the most powerful person in the world that visits the city. And that manpower from that jail is very important. And we require those officers to be sworn officers because you have to have some level of security to participate in the security of the most powerful person in the world. And I've always advocated that correctional officers should be cross-trained. They should be a viable part of the sheriff's department. They should be paid equal pay, the same as entry-level deputies. So my comprehensive plan would be to take that jail back over, make it more professional than what it is, exhibit strong leadership, and facilitate a clear channel of communication and authority and command with that facility, so there will be no ambiguity as to who's in charge and how that facility is run. Thank you.
One of the stark differences between the sheriff running the jail and the county commissioners running the jail, if the county commissioners are in charge of the jail, we have 5 politicians running the jail. And every time somebody has a need, or their cousin or their aunt winds up in jail, you know who they start calling their politicians. So all of a sudden you have 5 politicians that have to deal with the problem in the jail. For that reason, I believe that the sheriff is indeed the person that should be running the jail for 2 reasons. One, because that way we only have one politician to deal with. And the second point is that the jail is a part of the criminal justice system. It is very crucial to the court system, to even the probation system, and to the law enforcement officers that are out here day and night, to have a strong working relationship with the folks that work in the jail. We need to understand that those folks are trained individuals. They have special skills and knowledge specific to working in a custodial facility. I can't walk in that jail and do the job that they do, and unless you have had that training in your team. They're very special people, and they're very, very underpaid. I promise you that I would lobby hard to have the jail again under the conditions that county commissioners agreed to fund that facility. Provide the right number of employees so that not only the employees are cared for, but that the inmates are cared for. And let me tell you one more thing. If you look at the Department of Justice civil rights letter that was issued in 2012, after the incumbent had been in office for 4 years, that letter said that there was a pattern and practice of segregating prisoners based on race.
I'll start out with that. That is correct. The individual that was in charge of the jail at that time was Miss Anita Hemphill, black female. That had been a practice for segregating, gang members, etc. That is entirely allowed by law. It was done then, would be continued today if I ran the jail. Number one, law enforcement officers and correctional officers did share the same pay. We made pay equivalency when I became sheriff. The other jurisdiction ends at the jail. Okay? That and prisoner transport, they cannot be used outside the jail. They're not sworn officers. If you require those officers to be dual trained, that requires an additional funding. So therefore, while that's a great idea, it's something that you never get that amount of money from the county commission. Do I believe it's a law enforcement function? It most assuredly is. But by Florida statute, the Board of County Commissioners is responsible for running the correctional facility in conjunction with whoever they hire as the county administrator. The jail has gone back and forth between the sheriff and the Board of County Commissioners 4 times in the history of Escambia County. And the issue was always budgeting. Because what happens is the sheriff would agree to run the jail, run it professionally because it is a law enforcement function. And over a period of years, the county would continue to defund, 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 and defund. When I took the jail, there were 3 homicides in the jail. 3 homicides in the jail. Not inmate on inmate, but correctional officer and inmate. It was an abysmal failure. My 3rd day in office, I received a letter from the Department of Justice. Congratulations, Sheriff Morgan. You're under investigation for long-standing civil rights violations at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. I didn't bring that to this community. People on this panel did. However, it fell to me to clean it up, and I did it very effectively and very professionally. Read the entire report. What Mr. Johnson just referred to you was the report in its entirety, and that was their finding on day 1. That was corrected during the investigation. And so it was no longer standing there. What we needed to do was hire additional correctional officers, upgrade the facility, and get the appropriate electronics in there to raise this facility up to 21st century standards. When we demanded that of the county commission, they refused to negotiate. So members on this panel actually got with the former county commissioner and talked about privatizing the jail and did some backroom deals to try to take it away from the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. I would not tolerate that, and I gave it back to the county.
Once again, I'm the only candidate up here who is a certified law enforcement officer and a certified corrections officer. The pay has been equal since 1982 when Ben Seeley was sheriff. When I started at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, corrections officers were at pay grade 14, which means nothing to you. Deputy sheriffs was 16s. Ben Seeley raised us up. We've been the same ever since 1982. Now, as far as taking the jail, they've said many, many things up here, but in Escambia County, if you're part of our family, the law enforcement family, those people at the jail belong to the sheriff. He should be taking care of the people at the jail, the officers, just like he does his deputy sheriffs. And I worked with 4 sheriffs that did that exactly. If I am elected sheriff, I am going to get the jail back. I cherish those people. I understand the job that those people do. What I will tell you is I work for 4 sheriffs, and every week you come to work, the newspaper would be writing all about jail overcrowding. This sheriff right here has solved jail overcrowding. You never hear that anymore. And that's the reason your crime rate is the way it is. That goes back to my proactive movement. People that need to go to jail should be placed in jail, and they should be looked after, and then they should be sent on down to get them out of Escambia County so that our kids can play in the yard safe.
Thank you. The jail is a big issue. It's been sitting over there, exploded and blown up, and the commissioners have not done anything about it. The responsibility for the jail is the responsibility of the sheriff. I hear that the jail was medically accredited for the first time in the history of Escambia County. Folks, that is a lie. I was an accreditation person. I got it accredited. The director of the jail is sitting in the room. I served as a commissioner for accreditation for all detention facilities in the state of Florida. The jail went back to the commissioners because they resisted an $18 million extortion. I read the federal report. I know there's 2 people sitting in this room that requested that investigation. But it took 4 years, and he talked about policies and procedures, and to point your finger back at me because you didn't change bad procedure,
That's part of being the boss. You have to do that. Homicide. You need to check with the state of Florida to see what a homicide is. A homicide is not a murder. It can be, but it's not required. There are things that happen in the jail. If you can't put your finger on it, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement can't, the medical examiner can't, they write it up as a homicide. Hey, those folks that work in that jail, they deserve more money. They are the hardest working people in your Escambia County government because they have to put up with stuff that you can't even imagine. Things happen in the jail. People come in there that are sick. People come in there that swallow a bag of cocaine when you stop them on the side of the road and the bag ruptures and it kills them sitting right there in the booking area. Things happen. There's nothing good about jail. You can't write good things about a jail. The Escambia County Sheriff's Office ran the jail facility. It is not a correction unit, it's a detention unit.